Skateboarding. With over 85 million participants globally, it's one of the largest sports in the world. It has earned athletes gold medals at the Olympics, made global stars out of people like Tony Hawk and Rob Dyrdek, and resulted in quite a few broken bones. Despite its modern day success, it wasn't always inevitable that skateboarding would make it so big. The sport has seen many changes that have helped get it to where it is today. And the most impactful change is often overlooked: the change to the skateboard wheel. The earliest skateboards were constructed by hand through attaching the wheels of roller skates to planks of wood. These repurposed steel wheels gave the board heavy vibrations and low traction, leading to a very hard ride. Yet, if you wanted to build yourself a skateboard in the earliest of days, they were essentially your only option. As skateboards saw their first real commercialization in the late 50s and early 60s, there had been a new entry into the market. Clay wheels, also known as composite wheels, were made out of a combination of paper, plastic, and sometimes even walnut shells. These wheels were an improvement and helped usher in the initial skateboard craze of the 1960s, but they were still a far cry away from being ideal. First, they had terrible durability. You could go through a set of wheels in a week or even a few days. While vibrations were lower on clay wheels than on steel wheels, clay wheels still struggled with traction and control. And, if you accidentally rolled over something like a pebble, you'd eat concrete very quickly. Thanks to a spike of skateboard-related injuries, the initial skateboard hype crashed dramatically and saw little hope of being revived anytime soon. Parents derided the sport as unsafe for children, and multiple cities passed blanket bans on skateboarding entirely. Until someone could figure out how to make riding a skateboard easier, and therefore safer, skateboarding had hit an unbreakable wall. It's now 1970, and Frank Nasworthy, as a 24-year-old, has just been suspended from Virginia's Polytechnic Institute, now Virginia Tech, for protesting against the Vietnam War. While Nasworthy is a skateboarder, his main passion is actually surfing, and in the summer of 1970, Frank's surfing friend Bill Harward invites him to join him on a trip down to Purcellville, Virginia, to visit the family of one of Bill's friends, the Heightfields. The father of Bill's friend, Vernon Heightfield, is the owner of a urethane factory by the name of Creative Urethanes. First developed in Germany in the 1930s as a replacement to rubber, urethane is an incredibly durable and malleable material with a wide range of uses. Vernon had originally started experimenting with urethane while employed by an electrical engineering firm tasked with creating an antenna that could withstand the blast of an atomic bomb. He then came up with the idea to make urethane wheels for roller skates, thinking that the material would not only hold up better than traditional clay wheels, but also inflict less damage to the floors of roller rinks. And he was right. When Vernon showed his invention to the owner of a skating rink in Jacksonville, Florida, the owner was so impressed with the results that he gave Vernon $5,000 to start his own factory to produce the wheels at scale. Thus, Creative Urethanes was born. When Frank and Bill entered the factory, they came upon a large container of reject wheels that weren't good enough to be delivered. Frank instantly got the idea to put these wheels on skateboards, and asked Vernon if he could take some home with him. Vernon, needing to get rid of the wheels anyways, told him to take as many as he liked. Frank and Bill decided to take 40 wheels, or 10 full sets, back to Washington, D.C. The difference was immediate. When Frank and Bill tried out their new wheels, they found out that they completely changed the rideability of a skateboard. The skateboard suddenly had significant traction, and it could handle more uneven and difficult surfaces. Movements that were impossible on clay wheels were suddenly routine. Frank believed that there was serious potential in these new wheels to completely revolutionize the skateboarding industry, but he wasn't yet in a position to capitalize on this idea. Frank's opportunity would come a year later. On a whim, he and Bill had traveled to California on a surfing trip, and Frank fell in love with the town of Encinitas so much that he decided to settle down there permanently. Surrounded by a strong surfing and skating culture, he decided to reach out again to Vernon Heightfield to try and order more wheels. Vernon told Frank that not only would he have to design his own wheel, he'd have to buy a minimum of 1,000 for Creative Urethanes to produce the order. Frank accepted, crafted his own design, and ponied up the $700 he had earned from waiting tables in exchange for 1,000 urethane wheels. Frank and Bill had decided to name the wheel company Cadillac Wheels, which would give buyers the image of the smooth, luxurious ride of a Cadillac DeVille being shrunk down to the size of their skateboards. But even if his wheels were the best in the market, Frank still had plenty of work to do to get them into the hands of customers. His $8 wheels were almost the price of an entirely new skateboard, and there were no formal skate shops to be found. Skateboarders would instead go to surf shops to buy their gear, and most shop owners weren't willing to pay top dollar for an unproven product. Nevertheless, Frank found two shops willing to give his wheels a shot, and from those sales and some calculated giveaways to local skaters, it started to become clear to everyone that urethane wheels would completely change the game. Demand for the wheels started to build, and over the next couple of years, Cadillac wheels started to fill orders in the thousands. Skateboard sales shot up to the highest they'd been in nearly a decade, and multiple competitors to Frank had sprung up. Although Frank had pioneered the urethane skateboard wheel, he ultimately wouldn't be the one to reap the most rewards from it. Competitors such as Road Rider wheels further improved upon his design, such as changing Cadillac's loose ball bearing design to precision bearings, making the wheel even more durable and allowing for greater top speeds. These competitors would help force Frank out of the wheel market entirely. For a few years, Frank would continue to try to innovate in the skateboarding world. He would open an incredible, yet ultimately unsuccessful skateboard park in Florida in 1978. When that failed, he would eventually leave the skateboarding market altogether. He returned to school and ultimately got into the printing industry, earning himself multiple US patents. In 2012, he was inducted into the Skateboarding Hall of Fame, forever cementing his legacy as the man who revolutionized not only the skateboard wheel, but skateboarding as a whole. Thanks so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, I hope you'll give it a thumbs up and subscribe. If you didn't enjoy this video, let me know why so I can try to do better next time. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day, and take care.